This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Kind of Mopar guy, love a Mopar EV. That's a tough one. So, what are we talking about? Well, this is the brand new Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack EV 4-door. All right, a couple things right off the bat. Everything changes in this vehicle when you change the different modes. It really truly is one of those things that will completely change the profile of the vehicle, the overall algorithm of how it takes the energy you're pushing through the battery and delivers it to the motors, front and rear, and changing the bias. I mean, if you want to, you can put this thing into a parking lot and do donuts or burnouts or whatever. It will do it, but in its own unusual, weird way. It's not exactly what I would call a tree-hugging vehicle. Part of that has to do with the fact that it has a 93.3 kilowatt-hour battery that doesn't really give it killer range. Part of that has to do with its size and weight and also horsepower output, because this thing is 607 horsepower combined, 2 electric motors, forward and aft, so it's all-wheel drive. And if you're lucky, you can get over 200 miles on this thing. Now, I've been keeping it at 80% charge, and I've been getting like 175 miles per charge. And I've been very careful not to go too low because I don't want anything to happen. Unfortunately, the reputation for these things so far has been a little bit glitchy with the battery and some of the electronics. All right, let's get cranking, shall we? First of all, wanted to bring your attention to this amazing front end design. Now, there's a whole new department that's been doing a lot of these updates to the new design of Dodge products and whatnot, and it's kind of hit and miss. I know that Ralph Giel is amongst one of the ones, and he's really good at bringing in other people's designs, having them massaged and turned into something really useful. This one especially, I love the fact that it has this pass-through, and this is unique to the EVs. Let's see if you can see that. There we go. The internal combustion version of this vehicle does not have that. Now, let's just start from the sides and talk about what we got here. I'm going to try to keep my shadow out of it. I apologize. This is Southern California. Sun seems to be on me all the time. That's why I wear shades all the time, right? So, front and rear tires, 305/35 ZR20s, and then in the back 325/35 ZR20s. Really fat tires, actually. And it's needed because around the corner, well, this is a heavy car, so being able to fly around the corner and adhere is nice. Now, you may notice not a lot of traction on these particular tires. These are Eagles. These are much more like track oriented, but I wanted to show you this. Yes, of course, I'm gonna do a little exhaust note thing in a minute. Yes, it does have an exhaust note, and I'll explain that because there's been some misinformation about that. Let's pop open that trunk. Okay, I don't know why things take 2 tries on this car, but in many cases it does. Now, look at that opening. Impressive, right? Sorry about my gear being in the way, but this gives you an idea of scale. Those seats do fold. Now, I was able to get my friend's drum set, which is a 7-piece, and that's including everything in here, and I still had enough room to leave that seat up so I could get a passenger in there and then 2 passengers in the front. That's very rock and roll. That's a good thing. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have a problem fitting a bike in here with the wheel attached. Let me show you what I'm talking about. These door handles, Not my favorite because they're not actually handles. It's basically a sensor. But very simple seat to fold down. If I can reach in there, there we go. Just that simple, and down we go. Let me show you that. Yeah, that is a lot of space. So normal acceleration is already very brisk. Yeah, it moves nicely. And it sounds like a regular electric car. There's not a whole lot going on. You go, it's just nothing special. Steering effort is great. Feel, yeah, it's an electric car. You're not going to get a ton of feel out of it. I'm going to start in the back first, just easier this way. There we go. Now that seat is just as far back as that one, but because I dropped that down, I just figured I'd go behind. This is basically how much room I would need at 6'1" for the front seat. There we go. Feet go back there. Door is closed. You can immediately see air vents here, which I like. 2 USB-Cs and heated seats. Nice. And then there's this. Nope, it does not move. No, there is no fabric that stretches over. And I'm a little disappointed about that, but I understand its purpose. This gives you a lot more headroom. By not having anything here, no slides or anything else running along, it allows for maximum headroom, meaning that as I sit, you can see me here, I have decent headroom. If I slouch, which I normally do, I got even more headroom. When I lean my head back, I do bump a little bit. Legroom is really good. Headroom isn't bad for a muscle vehicle. It's actually quite good. A lot more room back here than other sedans that I've been in. By the way, I don't know if you can see that. You have to hit a button to open the door. I really would prefer to have a handle. You know what I mean? There we go, sport. Yes, you can already hear that. It's already tightened up. Everything's tightened up. Acceleration, overall feel, steering, everything immediately is responding to my input. And it's just like, yep. It wants to move. This is just sport. Track is a whole nother level, which I'll try in just a moment. Anyway, I'm comparing it to the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. That is my favorite electric car, full stop. Why? It doesn't do anything better in terms of its performance, power, numbers, or any of that. It's just a hoot to drive. It is fun to drive with a capital F. Yes, this car fakes its noise because it basically has a tuba in its ass, but it's not a bad thing. It makes it fun. It's folly. It's ridiculous. We're not track. Hear that? The whole purpose of that is to change the experience. I'm gonna actually shut it off the track because I can't hear myself. Back to sport. There we go. It's much quieter. Track goes to that next level where it makes everything even tighter. And there's more power delivered to the vehicle in a more urgent way. There's also drag. Big surprise what that's for. Construction seems to be pretty good. Everything seems to be solid. When I close the door, it's like a thunk. Now, this is the magic button. I'm putting my foot on the brake and pushing this. Listen carefully. That's right. That is the Herzog's system. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I get it. I'll explain that as well in a second. But first of all, first flaw of this interior. By the way, outstanding stereo system. It's an Alpine, puts off over 500 watts. Killer sound. I wish I could play, just so you guys could hear it, but, you know, don't want to get censored. Okay, this is all one panel. One panel. And every time I turn this car back on, it does not reset the air conditioner and just from where it was before. It shuts it off. So I have to go and turn it back on. And trust me, when you're in a vehicle like this that has all black interior pretty much, and a glass roof, it really is nice to have this working. This whole panel, watch, I'm just gonna hit anything and the whole panel flexes, okay? That's the thing, it's haptic feed, so you can actually feel a little bit of a click, right? So I just hit that, I can feel a little click against my finger. Feel that. And I don't understand the point of this. To save a couple bucks, please, buttons, individual, it's not that hard, people. At least they don't have that on the steering wheel controls. And the steering wheel controls themselves are fairly simple. And I can see, hopefully you can see this back here. So this is your typical, back in the day, FCA, or even before then, controls for volume control and then tuning and whatnot. And I love those controls. Probably one of the reasons they kept them, because people really like them. But this system here isn't as intuitive as some of the other systems they've used in the past. First of all, 10.3 inch screen here, pardon me, and then a 12.3 inch screen here. So air conditioning vents, and then down here, parking sensor off. If I turn this on, it beeps at everything. It beeps at flies and cockroaches. It beeps at wind movement. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. It's one of my biggest gripes in terms of the electronic goodies on here. It's just way oversensitive. Shutting it off kills everything. So then you have no help whatsoever. I wish there was something in between where you could kill part of it or whatever, but lane departure control, which is shut off, traction control, which I have turned off and it's done interesting things, and launch control. You know, I played with it and I don't really notice much of a difference between using that and going into the track mode and then just basically foot on the brake, foot on the accelerator, let go of the brake, and then it just goes. 2 USB-Cs, wireless charging, which works really well. It really does. I've been in various cars where having this pad doesn't work when you have like a cell phone cover. This works just fine. It's all rubberized. Cup holders here, parking brake here, that start button, which I wish was red or something like that, pulsated, it hissed at you or something. But anyway, you got this. Now this is very cool. This I love. You see, in most electric vehicles, you have a knob, a little twisty, or a button, or something like that, right? No. They decided to go for something manly, and I love it. So, reverse, drive, you pull it all the way back. You feel engagement, it clicks. I love that. I would love it better if it was a manual transmission, but beggars can't be choosers. This is an electric car after all. Okay, so there's that. I covered all this. Oh, and a little storage over here. Nothing too special there. I do like this. This is neat because you can put your cell phone in here and it holds it up between the cup holders. It's a nice thing to have. Oh, and just for those of you who are detail oriented, yes, not a very big glove box. Remember I was talking about pushing the button on the door? There it is. Push that, door pops to open. Kind of feels unnecessary, but whatever. Okay, so let's talk about the steering wheel, because that is the big story here. What we have here, now by the way, if you listen very carefully, you can hear the engine noise going whoa, 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 whoa. That is actually required. It doesn't necessarily have to make this noise, but you see, you have to make that a noise because it's an electric vehicle. And so for safety, for people outside the vehicle, they have to hear it. Now, normally you would have a vehicle like this making like a whirling wah, wah, or something like that, and they do extensive testing to verify, oh, okay, this can be heard by people outside just like a regular internal combustion engine. As such, it's a little safer so they don't just walk out in front of you in case they're not seeing you or perhaps are vision impaired. This, well, it can make some other noises, and let me show you how. See this lovely button here? Well, this is your drive modes. Now, there are several things you can do on this screen. And this is basically all the same selections you can get here. So let's just, I don't know, it's on auto right now. Let's put it on track. Listen carefully. Yeah, you hear the decibels have changed? Now, this is what happens when I actually hit the accelerator. This is an electric car, remember? Now let's go to drag. It changes the pitch a little bit. I think it drops it a hair. What's the red line, bro? I don't. There's a custom setting as well. Here's sport. It also does that. Now, when you go back to auto, which is where I left it, I'm accelerating, nothing's happening. It's basically acting like a regular electric vehicle. But each setting changes the algorithm of what's being fed to the vehicle. So, for instance, for drag, it's changing, and it shows you here. It changes the steering, the suspension setup, the way the steering works, the way the throttle input works, all of that. Same with track. And it shows you where the emphasis is going. And I believe, yep, there we go. So you can play with all these settings when you want to go and make it your own. And one thing I'll disagree with a lot of the guys on, including Roman, is that this is better for a straight shoot vehicle. I think it handles really well for something so heavy. Remember, this is about 6,000 pounds. Yet it goes around corners nicely. That all-wheel drive system does a beautiful job keeping this thing on task. And it doesn't dip as much as you might think. Yeah, there's a little tiny bit of a dip in the nose, but it's not too bad. The sensation that I'm feeling when I drive it is pretty good. I wish there was some sort of feedback in the steering of some sort. There's not, but with this square-shaped steering wheel, I like to call it a squaggle. For those of you who might be familiar with the comedy routine about a square bagel called a squaggle, yeah, it's worth hearing. Anyway, the point is that the grip and the feel of the steering is quite good. Brakes, yeah, that's something that I wish were a little bit stronger. They do a good job in panic braking, but I feel like it could use more. I think they're 16-inch. And they're Brembos up front, but I would imagine that larger, beefier brakes might do this car some good. But that's like if you're on it all day long, like I have been driving around these canyons, where you're really using not just a regenerative braking system, which I am, it's on maximum basically, so it's almost like one pedal driving. Well, frankly, it is. And so you don't have to rely on the brakes too much, but it at the same time, when you're really pushing it around canyons, having beefy brakes is a major help. Now, by the way, here on the steering wheel, sorry, not the steering, on the info pod in front of me, it's showing your maximum power. So it could go up to 670 if you push it. That's in drag mode. This is custom. Whoever had it last put it into a mode where it just screwed around with the paddle shifters and nothing else. Wet snow, yeah, that's perfect for Colorado. I'm sure the boys love that. And then of course auto, that's what I have it in now. Notice how the range changes, by the way. So I'm going to put it into sport, and hold on, it shuts off traction control, doesn't show me the range anymore because it's bad. And actually I think it does over there. So that's 86 miles. And here's track. Yep, it drops it down to 75 miles. You can see it down there. Drag. I wonder if that's going to drop it down even further. No, it's still 75 miles. You can see how all this stuff changes, and you got the Herzog, custom, whatever. And I want to go back to auto, which will give me, there we go, 95 miles range. Now, I've driven it quite a bit, as I said before. I've charged it a few times, and one of the issues I have is the fact that it charges, by comparison, extremely slow. It's like basically 183 kilowatts. That's maximum charging speed, and that's just no good. That and the price are probably my biggest issues. That, and I would imagine this and this. Okay, so those are my gripes. Oh, one more thing over here. So this will pop your frunk, which I'll try to show you at the very end. Headlights, auto, and light control. There you go. That is pretty much everything up here. These are your page control. You could change the pages and what you're viewing. This is your phone and audio control. And then over here is essentially cruise control, which gets you to a point that's near level 2, near, I should say. So, all the basics there. Oh, and there's this power shot. So power shot, you have to be in drive to use. It works best if you're in like a track or sport mode or whatnot, and essentially it gives you, I think, 15 seconds of extra power, maximum potential horsepower. And it's great if you just hit it and you're squirting around traffic and for some reason you need more power, which honestly this car does not need more power, but you hit that and all of a sudden it's as if 2 turbochargers kicked in with a rocket engine and launched you forward. That's what this does. And it works effectively, but it's almost completely unnecessary. But then again, so is most of this. This is all for fun. It's the whole point of this car. You may have noticed the paddle shifters, by the way. Yeah, those paddle shifters are basically for your regenerative braking system. That's basically what they do. So there's that. No need for a stock over here, just one stock over here, and that's it. Just that simple. Oh, there is a very large head-up display. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's so hard for me to focus on those things with the camera. Yeah, everything else here though is pretty much standard fare. All the controls up here, assist SOS, lighting on for the doors, hitting and opening the trunk from here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I should talk about the design because look at this. Yes, very nice, felty-like material, very nice. Doors are lined with hay leather. Look at that stitching. Oh, beautiful stitching. I honestly do like the way they do this, but I'm not a big carbon fiber fan, and they certainly use a lot of it, or at least what looks like carbon fiber, all throughout the interior. And by the way, you may notice, I don't know if you can see that, but all of this is lit up. It's another little issue, is that at night, it gets so red in here with this. I think there's a way to control it to die it down a bit, but it reflects on the glass, and so you have these red outlines that are reflecting on the glass as you're driving. I don't mind it so much because I can clearly see ahead of me, but you can see like these extra red bits reflecting, and some people might find that a little bit of a pain. The key fob. Thank you, Dodge, for keeping it simple and not putting goodies on the sides. I can't stand putting things on the sides of a key fob. It's big, it's simple, it's square. See if you guys can see all that. All right. Well, pretty simple setup there, right? Yeah. And then kind of carbon fiber, Dodge, carbon fiber. That's silly. It should be like gunmetal or something like that. All right, so final verdict on the way it drives. Not as much fun as the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. No. That one is a lot more video game fun, like instant satisfaction of what you're doing. But I've been laughing while I've been driving this, and I've been having a great time, and I'm insulting people. And the best part is I can get out of this car and go, it's an EV. You can't be insulted. It's all good. And frankly, they don't have recourse. It's great. No, but it's seriously, I would love to drive one of these every day if I had to commute to work or whatever. It's such a laugh. It's so much fun. Let's get around this, and then we're just gonna, give them a little bit of distance, and we're just gonna give a little bit of acceleration here. Like a rocket ship. Would I own one? Well, first of all, let's talk about the price. Once again, over 80 grand. This one comes in around $85,000, maybe a hair more. It's a lot of money for a muscle car. You know, muscle cars originally were really built as inexpensive ways for Americans to get their hands on good performance, solid performance. Get a cheap car, a simple car, tear out the 6-cylinder engine that was in there, and then drop in a big fat V8, and Americans could enjoy some fun performance. That was kind of like the early ways of thinking about it, right? Well, things have changed. And over the past, 2 decades, 3 decades, muscle cars have become a toy for the rich. And that's exactly what this is. Kind of bums me out. Now, yes, of course, you can get the RT for a lot less money. And they are coming out now with internal combustion versions of them. God willing, they'll be able to bring back a Hemi, hopefully a new one too, which is better performing, perhaps more reliable, stronger. We'll see about that. But the twin turbocharged 6 version of this, I'm hearing some really good things, which I'm delighted about, except for that it doesn't offer a manual transmission. It proved to me a point. It's a fun car. And a fun car is a car worth having. I don't care who you are. If a car makes you happy, it's the right car to have. This really made me happy. So, I guess there's a bottom line here. If I were to be given any choice of an electric vehicle to drive while I'm living in Southern California, the first choice would still be the Hyundai Ioniq N, the Ioniq 5N, I should say. I just still love that car. But this is sort of the larger spiritual successor of that vehicle in terms of it being ridiculous. And this would be my next choice. I would drive this car every day and be thrilled here in Los Angeles.